G'day, Flosstube. Friday, July 16th. Look at me. I looked it up right before I pressed the start button, you know, but little goldfish brains. Hard time even remembering it that long. Excuse me, July 16th. Back to a Friday, trying to keep things in their normal scheduled routine. So, wish us luck. Still feeling a bit meh about things after I filmed a couple of weeks ago, but you know, life goes on. The only reason meh is even relevant is because, like it or not, it does actually affect what I'm stitching on. So we're just keeping going. Bit of a different angle this week, only because the other side of this table is covered in other crud that I just didn't feel like moving. I will have to continue the cleanup process after I finish filming this. But I did want to get this update done. So today we have, given the meh status, actually a reasonable amount of progress in the stitching. We have a row finished. That's as close to a finish as we get. We have some haul, no new starts. Given we just had Mania, I don't foresee new starts in the foreseeable future, despite the haul. Although one of them has me tempted. We'll get there. Yeah, so vaguely trying to remember back to, 2 weeks ago and kind of the order things fell in. One of the earliest pieces I was working on was Santa's Magic. And if you remember from previous videos, I am doing a color conversion on him, so he's a very ice blue sort of color scheme. Obviously a Mirabilia. Started him as one of the Mania starts this year. And I will have to put a photo in of where it was last, trying to remember which way's up, and that's where we're at now. I don't know that you will see gobloads of big blocks of progress areas. I was mostly filling in, so like I know I was filling in more on that tassel. I think I was filling in more on this bit of ribbon that comes through here, filled in a bit, random things. And then I got to actually starting out into new territory. So you can see there's like a gap there. And if we look, trying to figure out where it is, sorry, before I show you. So I don't know whether it's going to show. There's like a run of brocade, little decorative sort of motifs that run along that edge of his sleeve. And in the original, they're charted in sort of a gold to match the brown themes. When I do my color conversion, if I use the converted colors, they would show up in a blue, a dark blue. But around those greens and stuff, I was thinking, not that fussed. And besides, I don't want it to be so much blue, there's nothing else. So I did start filling that in, and I picked that out. In fact, it looks like there's some of it there that I haven't actually picked out yet. Anyway. So then I thought, well, maybe I should do like the charted golds, because it's a nice little accent decorative piece. Maybe I should stick with the original color scheme and do those in sort of a gold accent. Could do that. That's maybe the safest option, given that I know some of those golds are going to match up here in the pairs and stuff, and it's all meant to work together. That's probably a pretty safe option. My other thought, though, that I'm kind of tempted with is to change those into a silver equivalent color scheme, and then run those decorative pieces along in a silver to go with the more cool tones of the blue. But all those sort of questions that, you know, on a normal day are exciting and let's puzzle this out and figure out what looks good, were just a bit too much to handle when it's too meh in life. And we have a similar sort of, one of these strings of baubles, I think, is a similar idea where I think it was charted in the gold, and I was debating, well, I could run that in a silver as well. So at that point, I basically said, yeah, not up for this. And I need to put it away for a day when I can actually enjoy those troubleshooting, and as much as we ever enjoy picking out stuff we've stitched in, enjoy working out what I want to see in that piece. And that day was not then. So I put that away and I pulled out the Paradise bird sampler. So I will have to insert a picture of what this is going to look like and where it was last time you saw it. But I think this is actually seeing a relatively good bit of progress. I would put a bit of dedicated effort into trying to finish up some of this framework, this wooden framework that goes around the border. And in fact, I've started backstitching some of them. I'm fairly sure the backstitching on those is new. I also did some dedicated effort to basically fill in missing gaps and like finish this bird of paradise down here in the leaves, so that basically everything from about there down I think is mostly complete and I can start backstitching. I figure this is one of those patterns. There's a lot of backstitching, and I'm not going to leave it till the end and have 3-4 weeks of backstitching that I'm dreading doing. So I'm trying to, you know, finish off that leaf and then I'll backstitch it. Then I'll finish off something else and I'll backstitch it, just so that I kind of keep up with the backstitching and it's not all left till the end. I did get this other side all the way down to the bottom, and so you can see there's some pink of the flowers that is gonna basically, I think there's a row of flowers and then there's some things that hang down, but that's the bottom. And then this arch will have the same flowers up the top, and that's the top. So at this point we've got almost full height to width. And I'm just realizing I totally forgot to tell you about the fabric in the last one. This fabric is just plain old white. I think this is the one we decided was actually a 32 count. It's supposed to be 36 and it is a 32. Plain old white. Nothing exciting. Let's finish this now that we're at it. Don't think I have much more to say about it, actually. So, making good progress on it. I did take this, you know, around town a couple of days because it's very portable. It's very easy to take around. And so, you know, from sitting in Macca's waiting for the kids to finish whatever activity they're doing, it's good for that kind of project. Thinking about fabric, we'll nick back to Santa's Magic because, you know, nothing like being organized, eh? Fabric on this one is hand dyed by myself, just Rit dye, obviously meant to be sort of a ice blue sort of color scheme to go with what we're aiming for. A little bit on the gray side. I think it's just a 28 count cashel base. That was probably an offcut from one of the Chatelaines. Without measuring it, I can't really be sure, but I would say that's highly likely. One day, I keep thinking about making one of those notebooks, you know, where you actually record each project and what fabrics. And, you know, any things like, for the conversion, I do have a notebook with all my converted colors, obviously. But it's scribbles. It's not pretty. It's not a, you know, kind of a detailed diary I look back on. It's like being a conversion. I may post it on the web and then check out my scribbles. So I keep thinking about doing something a bit more deliberate. You know, record the project, the designer, you know, any choices that you made or any changes, so that you have a record for it. Meh. There's a lot of meh. It's all a lot of work. So it hasn't happened yet. One day, maybe. At one point, in an effort to get out of the meh and try and get some enthusiasm and inspiration going, I pulled out the Tahiti Mandala. Now this, before I forget, is definitely a 28 count cash out, because all the Chatelaines are, that I dyed. Forget which color I used, but you know, for the Chatelaines I tend to use them, try and get a more solid result, so there's not so much competing with the stitching. If I haven't said so, I'll link a picture of what it's supposed to look like, although the previews are not that awesome. These things, if you really want to know what they're going to look like, go look at the Chatelaine gallery. You get a much better idea. And I started on another one of the blackwork turtles. So there's probably a couple hours of effort represented there. It's not hard stitching, it's just essentially back stitches, but it's very pestilent counting, and it's very easy, particularly on linen, when you're trying to, you know, count half what would be a normal 2/2, so you're only counting, you know, one square. It's very easy to muck it up and then pull it out and whatever. But having said that, when you get them done, they are so cool. I mean, look at that one that's finished. So I got, what, maybe just under half a turtle done. Couldn't quite stomach the idea of going back to shells, but those turtles are pretty cool. And yeah, so progress is progress. I am hoping to pull this out a little bit more, and at very least just finish that turtle. But again, like I said, the brain power just dictates, because after a couple hours I was just done and I had to put it away. But I know Arlene was looking forward to seeing that one, so that's the progress I made, Arlene. I told you it was modest. And I will do your floss toss right after I film this. Arlene's looking at doing rainforest, I think she said, on one of the fabrics I have here. So going to do a floss toss for her, so she doesn't have to, or hopefully get a better idea of whether she wants to order it. So that was Tahiti. I think, ooh, I left the other one over there. Oh, good. The bulk of the effort today, this last couple of weeks, has actually gone into Aura of Autumn, which I'm fairly certain I showed you last week. This is a Leonid Afromov, charted by Artecy. It's 3 panels, insert picture. I'm only working on the one park bench panel at the moment. And when you last saw it, I think I was just past that lamp post, and now we have a page or a row finish. So I've got it out of the Q-Snap so you can see everything. And when you get the lighting right, the pictures really do look as vibrant as, you know, the original painting photos. The colors in real life are not bad. They're not quite that vibrant, but they're pretty cool. It's been quite entertaining to work on this piece, because we've been giving poor Belinda, Aussie Stitcher, a bit of grief lately and tagging her in all our finishes. So when I was finishing the page that ends roughly about here last weekend, it just happened to be a day that my family was attempting to do a nice cooked breakfast. And I only had about 6 stitches left to go to finish that page. And I wouldn't let he do cooked breakfast until after I finished the page and tagged Belinda. Because, you know, priorities. And so then, was it 2 nights ago, I think, when I finished, you know, the edge of the row, you know, and I'm trying to show it off. Oh, hey dear, look, how awesome is this? The whole row is finished. He hardly even looked up. He said, have you tagged Belinda yet? So poor Belinda, I'm sorry. Even my family is giving you grief now. But yeah, so that is really pretty pleased. You know, one of the big highlights of the last couple of weeks was getting that row finished. And I think at this point I will put this project away for a little bit and switch to my next project. But before I forget, this fabric is one of the few that I do on even weave. I want to say it's a 32 count Murano. It's actually written, so I remember to tell you guys, on Oliver's stocking pattern. Now that I'm not working on Oliver's stocking, I don't know what it was. I think it was 32 count Murano. Okay. This next piece is a big enough thing that I feel like I got to clear the whole space just to make room for it on its own. And it, of course, is the world map. After I finished that row in Aura of Autumn, I pulled this out. This is a chart off Etsy by a seller called ZAnnaCrossStitch. And I am just to the side of that orange balloon there in the archway. Those of you who have been hanging around a while will have seen the progress before. I basically just on that little corner there. I had a bit of came to a bit of a stall when I had to give back my loaner Q snap till the new one showed up. And then I had to make myself a new Q snap cover. And then I had to wrangle the thing into the actual Q snap. That in itself is a mission. So it's back in the Q snap, and I would have to insert a picture. Hold on, we got threads everywhere. That's the other hazard of this project. Threads everywhere, confetti heavy. So this page here, you can't even hardly see around the threads. So that's the end, the bottom, where my finger is pointing, and I think it comes down to about just shy of that braid. That page was started, and it kind of had that left corner filled in, but I've added a whole extra row of blocks, and I'm just starting to work into the next blocks, which should almost bring this diagonal down to the edge of the page. But I mean, with all that gobloads of threads, you can't even see where I'm working hardly. Trust me, there's a whole nother row of blocks that wasn't there before. And for the most part, despite all the threads hanging there, it hasn't been too bad in this side of the page. Up here where we have letter writing, it's like, I swear there's 50 colors in 100, 10 by 10 block with 100 squares. Yay. Those were slow blocks. So not a heap of progress in this 2 weeks just gone. However, I fully intend to leave this set up as my evening project, and I at least want to finish this page that's started and finish this next one that's over here before I change sort of my evening project focus. Partly because this block over here, you start to get into the real map motifs. So again, going back to the image where you can actually see something. We're working in there, and you can just see, the landmass You actually, in what I've already stitched, you can see a little bit of the line work in the Arctic and stuff that forms the top of the globe. But you know, this will get the traditional browns and whatnot of the maps. So pretty excited to see that. So that is the only plan we have, is to work on the map in the evenings. And it got to the point where yesterday I was so desperate to actually stitch on this map that despite the fact this is by far the largest project I have, you know, in terms of the threads and stuff that I've got to carry around with me, I even like packed it all up and took it into the office so that I could stitch on it during my lunch hour, because I didn't even want to wait till I got home to stitch on it in the evening. And that is a mission. I don't do that very often. So that tells you how much I really wanted to stitch on it. And when I got home yesterday, another highlight of the week, because you know, we gotta remember there are some highlights in these things, guys. I had placed an order a couple of weeks ago after I finished Electra, one of the Bewitching Pixies. My eldest daughter has absolutely loved that pattern. And she's like, Mom, you could do a heap of those for me. And of course, I don't really need much encouragement, do I? And that was the last of the Halloween patterns that I had kind of in my stash that were kind of, I think it's just plain the last of them that were in my stash to do. I don't think I have any more. So I went looking at Bewitching Pixies on 1-2-3-Stitch. And I bought Zinnia. So I was kind of thinking Electra faces left, I think. So if I did one that faced straight on and one that faces into Electra, it would make a nice sort of display on the wall. I have no idea how any of these are sized, whether they're roughly the same scale or anything. I just bought a bunch that I liked, and we'll play with actual logistics and decisions later. So that's Zinnia. These are all more Corbetts, obviously. This one is Gwen. I really quite like her. I thought I like the consistency of the rail. So, you know, this, she's got the rails in the background, she's got the rails over the top, and if you had another one with rails facing that way, I think that would make a really nice set. Of course, Electra does not fit in that theory. This one is Ava, which I thought she actually would make a really nice complement to Electra. And Minerva, which is trees rather than rail, but again, I thought that black line work kind of would make that a consistent if you did it, you know, in a set like this. But yeah, that leaves Electra out of it. So I don't know. Eventually, one day, I will make a decision and I will start one or more of those, but not today. If they're anything like Electra, though, they use a really quick stitch. Random card of Treasure Braid thrown in there because for Santa's Magic I had to raid one of the cards out of a Chatelaine, and I wanted to make sure the Chatelaine had its placement card, so I wasn't short when I got that far on the Chatelaine. And the last thing I bought, which is actually the one I might think about starting, is Glendon Place's Sleepy Hollow. And yeah, I just love this piece. Stitch All the Things has this finished. It's gorgeous. So yeah, kind of tempted, kind of feel like I should put it in the bottom of the someday I'll start it and kit it bucket, because I really don't need another large project on the go. I've got several, not short of things to stitch, but at the same time, how cool is that? So I'm pleased to at least have it in my stash so that one day I can start that. At least what I can see from the chart, you know, there's several Krynics, there's a water lilies, a couple of mill hills, which all inevitably swap out with Krynics. But it's mostly DMC, not a huge number of colors in there. Doesn't look like super involved stitching, but it's a cool piece. Having said that, don't we always underestimate? We look at it and go, oh, that's not so bad, is it? And then when we get in there, it's a lot worse than we actually thought it was. That's just life. So, that was the stash. That was the whips. Hopefully we'll see a fair bit more of the map for a couple of videos. And hopefully we will get some of the enthusiasm back to tackle some of the things like the Chatelaines and the Santa's Magic as well. Until then, take care. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.